Hello everybody and welcome back. As you can see on the screen, today our video is about Rajasthan Judiciary Mains. Recently, since their preliminary test model answers came out and they were open to objections, a lot of you have realized that you might be appearing for the mains exam. And if you are appearing for the mains exam, then you're wondering how to go about it, which is why we've been getting a lot of emails and requests recently about how to go about Rajasthan Judiciary Mains. So we'll go over the notification today and give you a little bit of idea on how to go about the Rajasthan Judiciary Mains. So on your screen you can see the notification for Rajasthan Judiciary, and you've probably already cleared if you're writing about the mains exam, you've probably cleared the preliminary exam, or you expected to clear the preliminary exam. So in the preliminary exam, there are law papers, and then they test your Hindi proficiency and also your English proficiency based on tenses, active passages, verbs, idioms. All of these you would have probably cleared already, because now we're talking about the Rajasthan mains. So let's go to the mains part where it provides what is the syllabus for mains. So here we go. On mains, you can see that there is law paper 1 for 100 marks, law paper 2 for another 100 marks, and then there is a paper on Hindi essay for 50 and English essay for 50. Now this is something that I want you to note, that both of these essays together are about 100 marks, and then there is law paper 1 and 2, which are also 100 marks each. So they've given a lot of weightage to these essays. So this is your place where you can really differentiate yourself. Everybody will be spending time doing the case laws and the sections and all of it, which you have to do because you have to clear every paper. But if you want a higher rank, then it is really important that you concentrate on these two papers just as much, and don't take them lightly. In the law paper 1, you can see that there is CPC, Constitution, Contract Act, Evidence, Limitation, Specific Relief, Transfer of Property, interpretation of statutes, and the Rajasthan Rent Control Act. Plus, they have order and judgment writing. So this is also where they will see whether you are trained to think like a judge, whether you can see the case laws, whether you can write judgments, whether you can incorporate all of it in your rulings. So this is also an area where they will test you. A good thing about Rajasthan Judiciary right now, coming back to where we were, right now they've removed a lot of local laws, and these are all the subjects for which you would be graded 100 marks. And similarly, if you take a look at the law paper 2, there are again a lot of subjects for which you would be graded 100 marks. There is CRPC, there is Evidence Act, there is IPC. So this will be all of these together. And then the Juvenile Justice Care Act, Negotiable Instrument, Probation of Offenders, and then Domestic Violence Act, and Framing of Charge and Judgment Writing. Now again, if you are worried about these order and judgment writings, like you don't know how to write orders or how to write judgment writing, because all of this, like Indian Evidence Act, limitation, all of this, you can find the information in books, you can get commentaries, you can read all the case laws. But order and judgment writing, and then charge framing and judgment writing, all of these things are not easily in books. So if you want, you can check out, we have an online course on it in our InstaMojo store. You can check that out. The link is always in the description. And we have a detailed course on it, on how to write orders for civil, answers, how to write orders for criminal answers, how to write judgments, how to do charge framing, how to do judgment writing for both civil and criminal cases. And that also includes how to write theoretical answers. So if there are any questions like which are very simple, just theoretical questions, and they just ask you to explain a concept, like explain the concept of plea bargaining. So in theoretical answers where you don't have to do any orders or judgment or analyze facts, how to write those are also covered in the online course, so you can check that out if you want. Now the next paper over here is the language papers, which is the Hindi and English. And they say that this is 50 hours in a 2-hour paper where you will be doing essay writing. So in this you get 100 marks for just writing essays, as compared to, let's say, the law papers, where you can see that this is a very hefty paper, the second law paper, because it has CRPC, IPC evidence, the whole gamut of criminal laws. In addition to that, there is Juvenile Justice Act, negotiable instrument, probation offenders, domestic violence, and then another different part on charge framing and judgment writing. So that's 7 laws and a different concept of charge framing and judgment writing. So all of this is very mentally taxing. There is a lot that you have to cover over here. You have to cover 7 laws, plus you have to know the formalities of this kind of charge framing and judgment writing. So you need to know the formats, you need to know how to analyze case laws, you need to know how to write. So all of this together constitutes 100 marks. That's 7 laws and plus the formats, as opposed to the essays where you get 100 marks for writing essays. And essay writing is, again, it's not a very complicated topic if you understand the basics of it. In every essay there are things that you utilize this opportunity. Now we've already discussed that they have a very high weightage as compared to the laws, and how you can utilize that weightage, how you can leverage it. Now you might be wondering, what kind of essays do they have to keep in mind? For example, you have to know where to do the research from, because you can't write an essay out of your hat. You have to know, let's say they ask you an essay on terrorism. In that case, you have to know what are the current problems of terrorism, where does it originate, or maybe they give you in some context. For example, in Delhi Judicial Services, they asked an essay for terrorism and in context to USA. So that is a very specific topic, but it also means that if you have good GK and you have done your research properly, in that case you can really get ahead of everybody else and you can score some good marks, and that is where you can get your rank high. And we have a video on this which is based on Delhi Judicial Services, but it basically applies to everywhere, that if you get a high enough rank in mains, your rank in interview is almost corresponding to that, unless something goes terribly wrong. So if you have a good enough rank in mains, your interviews can be a lot smoother, and then you don't have the pressure that I have to get a high rank in the interview so I can get through judiciary. So mains is the most important battle of this war that you can clear. If you get a good enough rank in mains, then you're pretty good to go. So to get a good enough rank in mains, you want some kind of leverage, somewhere where you can get ahead of the other candidates, and for that, Hindi, English, essays, charge framing, judgment writing, these are really easy subjects, where not easy in the sense that they don't involve complexity, but easy in the sense that a lot of people don't concentrate enough on them. So if they don't concentrate and they're letting those go, you can take advantage of it, you can concentrate on it, and you can get that leverage. So your rank might, because in competitive exams even a couple of marks here and there make the hugest difference, and if you take that advantage, then you can get a rank slightly higher, and that's worth entirely. So think about every way in which you can differentiate yourself and get your rank even a couple paces higher. keep getting it higher, and once it is high enough in the mains, you don't even have to worry about interview. Will just be a sort of formality for you. So as I was saying, that with essays you need a couple of things. You need to know how to do the research, you need to know how to write essays, what is the format of essays, you need to know how to differentiate your essay from others, because if it is a common topic, then most of the people would be writing the same stuff. So you need to know how to differentiate your essay, how to write, how to format it, and you should have good GK, good general knowledge. You should know how to research them. And then if you follow the formats and then you give a good conclusion and it's the right length and the right amount, you can get very high marks in the essay, because it's pretty subjective. So if the examiner thinks that your essay was differentiated enough, it was smart, it was intellectual, then you can get then you can get a pretty high rank in your essay. You can get high marks in the essay. So essays is a really good way that you can, is that they have removed a lot of their local laws. Earlier they used to have so many local laws, because of which good talent was not going to Rajasthan Judiciary, and everybody used to skip and say that there are a lot of local laws, how can we do these local laws? So they used to not apply for Rajasthan Judiciary. Now they have removed all of them, and now they have only a couple very small parts of the local laws. So now it's right now a very good opportunity for you to go for Rajasthan Judiciary, because right now this is the first time that they're doing this exam without the local laws. And since a lot of people don't know about it yet, the competition won't be very high. So you still have the opportunity to really leverage this. So you have the opportunity to leverage this and to get in the game early on, when they've just removed the local laws, and the competition is going to be low and the papers are going to be significantly easier. The law papers would be just as tough, but because there isn't that aspect of local laws, you don't have to get lost in the nitty-gritties. Simple. If you go to take a look at, this is one of their English papers. So this is where you get to write essays. Now over here it says attempt all 3 questions, and question number 1 carries 20 marks and the rest 2 questions carry 15 marks each. So you have to write 2 essays. You have to write all 3 questions. Now it says write an essay in English on any one of the topics in about 500 words. It's important that you also keep a track of words in this. Otherwise, if the examiner does like a very rough count, and if they feel that your essay is very much longer than the 500 words, it's a lot shorter, then it'll reflect in the marks that they give you. So over here it says protection of human rights, a judicial obligation, and the constitutional obligation of judiciary. So very constitutionally inspired essays. And then the next question is write an essay in English on any one of the topics within 400 words. Value-based legal profession is in need of time, and judicial standards and conduct of judicial community. And then the third one is write an essay in English in 400 words on religious tourism in the state of Rajasthan and the concept of smart city. So with Rajasthan Judiciary, one of the things is that they always have essays somehow on Rajasthan related topics. So that is one topic that you must cover in both English and Hindi essays. So be it tourism or ecotourism, or the concept like over here as say smart city, or some sort of town and city development. So all of these topics they often like to repeat in both English and Hindi essays. So that is something that you must cover. Apart from that, as you can see that the essays are not very tough topics, they are sort of generic topics, and if you don't know, then we also have an online course on essay writing, which is not available individually, but it comes in the foundation course. Again, if you don't know, we have a foundation course in which we cover essay writing, answer writing, judgment writing, which books you should study from, how to write essays, what are the things that you can do in mains, strategies that can give you an advantage over others. It also covers how to prepare for preliminary tests and how to prepare for interviews. So every stage, be it PT, mains, or interview, we've tried to cover in the foundation course with detailed tips and tricks and all of it. So the essay writing video in the foundation course gives all the details about how you should do the research and how you should write the essays and what the body should look like. With an example essay, we show you on screen an example essay and show you in detail how we wrote that essay that was written by us. So we show you that essay and we show you how we did the body and where we did the research from and where you can do the research from. And in addition to that, we have given a list of essays which is commonly repeated in all states, and that is based on our research of the past year papers. So we painstakingly went through all the past year papers and we saw the topics which were repeated, we saw the topics that are important, we've given those topics, and if you do those, then it's a given that at least 1 to 2 of those would be there in the questions that you get for essay writing. As you can see here, if any of you have, then you would be able to know that most of the topics are you will see that most of the topics are sort of recirculated. So if you need any help with essays on how to write or what topics to do, then you should check out our essay writing course, which is a part of the foundation course. Now that we've seen the English essays, let's also take a look at the Hindi. Actually need help with English, then our Hindi book is really good for that, because it's literally a master word list which is patched up. If you haven't seen our Hindi book, which is right now out of stock, and we are very sorry for it, we're making sure that it comes back. Hopefully if it comes back in time, you can get it, or there's a Kindle version available right now also. If you're very weak and you need it right now, you can do that. So the Hindi book is sort of like a master word list where we have taken all the words relating law, judiciary, every topic that you can think of, patched them up, and then the Hindi and the English words of theirs are given. To help with the English essays, then that book would also give you a very good foundation in English, because it's basically translation from Hindi to English. You can learn it both ways. The English essay, they were asking for religious tourism in Rajasthan and the smart city, and then list that we've given in the foundation course, you just take the English list and you kind of like translate it to Hindi. And apart from this, if you want to take a look at the past year papers for this, it is actually you can see that it has a very similar framework, where there is one question for 20 marks and then the rest 2 questions are for 15 marks each. And again, this is a very constitutionally inspired essay. हमारा संविधान राष्ट्र निर्माण का मार्गदर्शक, विधि का शासन हमारे संविधान का मूल तत्व. So as I was saying, that these are very constitutionally inspired essays about your constitution. हमारा संविधान means our constitution. राष्ट्र निर्माण का मार्गदर्शक, which means that it is the guiding principle for national development. And then the second essay is also विधि का शासन, which is basically rule of law. हमारे संविधान का मूल तत्व. So if you think about it, how rule of law is the basic foundation principle of our constitution. And if you're thinking that this is like Hindi to English or English to Hindi is very difficult for you, if you're more fluent in English and you need help with Hindi, or you're more fluent in Hindi, and so if you were wondering, that someone is saying हमारा संविधान राष्ट्र निर्माण का मार्गदर्शक, how does this translate to English? Let's say your Hindi is not very good, that book would help you. And also if your Hindi is very good and you actually, but for these essays you're going to need a very good foundation in Hindi with good grammar and good spelling, because spelling is something that people often sort of neglect in Hindi. So similarly, they've given the other essay topics as well. You can see here as you can see that there is also an environmentally inspired essay, and we have talked about a lot of these topics in the essay video. Even though they are for English, if you see all the topics, they are pretty much the same for English and Hindi. In our video, we talk about the English essays and all the topics that are important. We give you a list of those, but the same list can also be utilized for Hindi essays, because they use the same themes or topics for both English and Hindi essays. And as I was telling you before, over here also you can see that it says Rajasthan में हस्तकला की समृद्ध परंपरा. So again, Rajasthan inspired essay. In Rajasthan, they use these kind of essays which are Rajasthan inspired, which was the same in Hindi. Also, they're asking for Paryatan, Rajasthan का एक अग्रणी उद्योग. So how does tourism help with the development and the small business practices of Rajasthan? And then Rajasthan में हस्तकला की समृद्ध परंपरा. So they kind of want you to focus on the cultural aspect over here. So Rajasthan inspired essays are common in Rajasthan. You should do them for English and Hindi, and same topics you should do for both English and Hindi. Rajasthan Judiciary, Rajasthan High Court website. So if you go to the Rajasthan High Court website, they have given the previous year's papers, which is a really good thing because a lot of places don't have them. You can buy books with previous year papers, but you have this free resource available over here where they've given you the previous year English, Hindi, law papers, and even the pre-PT papers. So we have taken out a couple of these papers just to show you how it looks like. Criminal law, etc., then those are also available on the Rajasthan Court website. For example, this is one of the papers from their website. This is a 48-page paper, that PDF that you can download. And then this is the mains law 1 paper. So you can see that it's available on the Rajasthan High Court website. This is the 2016 paper. It says attempt all questions, 1 to 8 carry 3 marks, 9 to 12 5 marks. You should solve these papers in order to understand how good you are at solving them, and also to see how good you are at time management. So you keep the time separate. You keep the same amount of time as is given to you in the paper, and then you do the entire exam paper. You solve it on your own like you're doing it in the exam hall. So you'll be able to see how you do under time pressure and how do you do with time management. So you can see that this has all the questions. How a sale in case of tangible immovable property is made, Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act, can the permission be given to a natural guardian, and then suits and applications. So they have all these questions which are for 3 marks each. You don't have to write very long answers because it's just 3 marks, but they just want to see if you know the law. And then we come to a little bit longer questions which are 5 marks each. So these would be like, let's say, a para to 1.5 paragraphs, maybe 2 paragraphs long. But these older papers will have a lot more questions on local laws, which might not be applicable to you anymore. So if you see any of the local law questions which are not in the syllabus anymore, just avoid them. Just don't do it. Don't waste your time. Just do only the questions for the local laws which are now in the syllabus. For example, Rent Control Act, you should know. And if you go through these past year questions, you also see that what are the areas of particular laws that they are inclined towards, or they generally use a lot. So you can get these question papers and do a practice test for yourself. And so we've given you kind of a little bit of overview of how to deal with Rajasthan mains. In terms of law papers, in terms of the English and Hindi papers, and how essays are really important, and you should not neglect these. If you need more help, you can check out our foundation course. The link is always in description box. If you need help with translation, you can check out our Hindi book, which is right now only available in the Kindle version, but hopefully we'll get it back to you soon enough. And you must practice the past year law papers. We genuinely hope this video helped you. If you have any more questions, please feel free to leave it in the comments. This video was inspired by a question that we received on the email, and we wanted to make a full video on it. So if you have any questions, please leave it in the comments, and we might make a video on that too. So hope to see you soon. Please make sure that you subscribe so you get notified of new videos.